What's going on, guys? This is Carter Karels, Texas A&M beat writer for GigEm 247. Here at AT&T Stadium, Texas A&M just defeated Arkansas 34-22. GigEm after party is back. Missed last week. I came down with the flu. Still feeling a little under the weather, so if I have a raging coughing fit, my apologies. But how about the Aggies today? 34-22, but looked almost like 54-22 or maybe 44-22. It did not look what the score indicated. It was really a dominant performance for Texas A&M, and a few plays go differently. If A&M is a little bit cleaner on offense, you're probably looking at a much different result. But got to start with the defense today for the Aggies. An absolute masterclass for defensive coordinator DJ Durkin. I tweeted after the game that Shaq meme, I owe you an apology. I wasn't familiar with your game, DJ Durkin. What a performance from this defense. 7 sacks, 15 tackles for a loss. They were put in bad situations all game when it came to the Aggies turning the ball over 3 times. Max Johnson throwing a pick 6, giving the ball over in plus territory. But this defense, time and again, delivered. And really what the biggest thing was not just containing KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders, but getting to the quarterback. That pass rush that we had been talking about at the very beginning of the season that wasn't quite there for Texas A&M. Boy, did it come alive. Not only did they have 7 sacks, 15 TFLs today, they had it last week against Auburn. And against Auburn, you're thinking, well, it's Auburn. They stink. Their quarterback stinks. He took a lot of those sacks. Some of them were coverage sacks, but today it was really the pressure that got to KJ Jefferson. Coverage was decent, it appeared, and I know they were missing their tight end for most of the game today, but to me it was Walter Nolan, it was Shamar Turner, it was McKinley Jackson with a couple TFLs, and Edgerrin Cooper from the linebacker spot really came up. Man, there are some people in trouble around here with these sirens. But yeah, let's talk about this defense, because think about this. It was 17-6 at halftime, I want to say. And Texas A&M comes out, and you're thinking, man, we talk about the middle 8, the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 minutes of the second half. They score a touchdown toward the end of the first half. Had they scored again, you're talking about this game being pretty much over with how Arkansas couldn't move the ball offensively. And first play of the second half, Max Johnson throws a pick 6. It was a play where I think it was kind of doomed from the start. Anaya Smith was kind of asked to block. I think it was the nickel corner, and just was not a good situation to put him in. Obviously, couldn't get there in time before the guy kind of broke on it and picked Max Johnson off. At the same time, Max probably shouldn't have thrown that. Probably should have read it better. Handed it off to the running back. He had admitted as much. But you put in that situation, it makes it a 1-score game. Then Max Johnson fumbles it again. Arkansas kicks a field goal. And all of a sudden it's 2016. And it puts A&M's defense in a bad spot time and again, where you're turning it over and you have these opportunities to kind of end the game. But even despite all of that, A&M continued to respond and continued to get the quarterback. You know, and it didn't start well for the defense. 4 of 5 on third down, Arkansas started. They finished 1 of 10 on third down. Really, those first 2 drives, you're looking, you're thinking, oh my gosh, here we go again. It's Arkansas moving right down the field. they had long third down conversions. It was, you know, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 13, and A&M just couldn't get off the field. And then they cranked up that pressure and really got to KJ, and he just couldn't find any receivers downfield. He obviously had the big play at the end against DeBerry, but other than that, not a lot of receivers catching the ball today. I think he only completed 9 passes, and I think in the second half, I don't know if he had any passing yards up until that big play at the end. Offensively, you know, Max Johnson comes out and looks fantastic. Let's talk about him for a second, because Max Johnson, you know, you're going into the game thinking, well, there's not that much of a drop-off between him and Connor Wigman, and he really showed it. That first drive, moved it right down the field, didn't throw an incompletion, and that touchdown to Evan Stewart was a thing of beauty. About 32 yards down the field, hit him in stride, kind of rerouted him to where he could make that play where only he could get it. And so you think about it. A&M took over with about 7 minutes left in the first quarter. It was a long 8-minute drive for Arkansas, and but you didn't see any signs of rust. You didn't see anything slow for A&M. They moved right down the field and got the job done. Got a field goal on the second drive. Up and down day for Randy Bond. You know, once again, just things here and there where if A&M had just cleaned it up a little bit more, you're talking about 5 or 6 plays in the game, this is a dominant win. But instead it's 34-22. I mean, even the last play of the game, almost score there. Maybe the ref should have given it to them. And you know, you're talking about a 3-score win instead of a 2-score win. But A&M turned it over 3 times. Arkansas, a team that's been penalized a ton, 25 penalties in the last 2 games, didn't have a single penalty today. Now you tell me those 2 things, a 3-1 turnover advantage and the penalty thing, and I might tell you, man, I don't know if A&M wins the game. But again, just speaks to the defense. Le'Veon Moss, another guy worth talking about. He went over 100 yards today, rushing. Really, I thought was the most impressive rushing performance that a running back has had this season for Texas A&M. I thought he really ran the ball hard. I thought he did a great job just fighting for the extra yards. LSU fans just walk past me. I don't know, well, what are they doing here? Guess they wanted to catch some SEC football. But yeah, Le'Veon Moss, especially when you watch the other 2 guys, Amari Daniels, Ruben Owens, they have not been overly impressive. I think they've showed the flashes, especially Ruben Owens. You know, being a true freshman, you kind of grade him on a curve. But, I mean, you really think about it, those 2 guys haven't had that big game that you've been looking for. And Le'Veon Moss showed you something against Auburn, and now here he is again, really showing something. So I think he's your running back 1 going forward. I think he's your guy that you can rely on. You saw Amari Daniels have that big drop in the second half. You saw Ja'Day Walker filling in for Evan Stewart having a few drops in the second half. So some missed opportunities there. And Max Johnson, I think he was 17 of 25, 210, 2 touchdowns, interception, about 50, 60 yards rushing. Could have been a much better day for him had his receivers caught the ball. Could have been a better day if Evan Stewart hadn't been hurt. A lot of the game, he was kind of laboring with that ankle injury. I think he hurt his head toward the end of the game. So something to watch for sure with Alabama coming up. Is he going to play next week? Certainly going to be a question. But, you know, overall, the defense is the big winner today. Been giving them a lot of criticism, especially early in the season. That 48-point performance from Miami. But they have really responded over the last few weeks, and that pass rush has finally come alive. And I don't care how bad your corners and DBs are. If your pass rush is getting 7 sacks and 15 tackles for a loss, it really does not matter who you got there in the back end. So that's where this defense, that's where that strength is going to be. I mean, we've always talked about that talented defensive line. We've always talked about Edger and Cooper having it in him, but not quite showing it yet. Well, now we have finally seen them come together. Now, I want to reiterate, Arkansas, I don't know how many games they're going to win this season. Will they be a bowl team by the end of the season? This could be a 5-win team, 6-7 win team. Not a great team you're talking about here. I know they played LSU close, but now they're 2-3. They've got a pretty tough stretch coming up. You could look up mid-November and this could be a 2-5 team. So definitely want to kind of consider that as well. But A&M starting 2-0 in SEC play, 2 double-digit wins. That's a huge win in my book. After that Miami game and after that Connor Wigman injury, this team could have folded. This team could have called it quits. We certainly saw that last season, the 6-game losing streak. But here they are, 4-1 going into the Bama game. Probably a ranked matchup next week in Kyle Field. You look around the SEC and Auburn's beating Georgia right now. And this Arkansas team went to Death Valley last week and nearly beat LSU. And so, I mean, A&M still has its whole season out ahead of them. A&M still has a chance to win the SEC. I mean, 100%. You look at Tennessee. Look at how bad Florida looked today against Kentucky. This conference is up and down, and A&M has been one of the more consistent teams in the conference. They just had that one bad game against Miami, and I want to see what they look like against these better teams in the conference. Your Bamas, your LSU's, but you have to be encouraged about the last couple weeks. One other thing I want to mention, Anais Smith, last time he was here at AT&T Stadium, broke his fibula, separated his ankle, had to have 2 surgeries, had to have a tightrope surgery. I wrote a big story about sort of his recovery and everything he went through. If you haven't checked it out, check it out at GigEm247.com. But huge game for him. With Evan Stewart out, this offense needed something down the field, and he delivered. 4 catches, 71 yards. He had that huge punt return for 82 yards for a touchdown. He dropped it initially and recovered and made a nice play. And then had a second big punt return. Chris Russell had the pick 6 that Bryce Anderson tipped up in the air. That came at a crucial time too. I mean, you're talking about Arkansas kind of having A&M on its heels after that start to the second half with the pick 6 and the fumble and with how that kind of started. And to get that pick 6, make it 27-16, that was huge. So you had the pick 6, then you had the Anais Smith return, made it 34-16, put the game out of reach. Those were 2 critical plays in the game. So got to my car a little bit earlier than expected. That's why I've been pacing around, but wanted to talk about this one a little bit more. Huge win for A&M. Again, Arkansas may not be that great of a team by the end of the year, but all things considered, with Connor Wigman going down and your defense finally coming alive, this was such an encouraging win for Texas A&M, and it sets up a huge matchup next week. 4-1 Texas A&M, should be a 4-1 Alabama team coming into Kyle Field. A&M's been playing Bama very well over the last couple of years, so expecting a big one. I predicted A&M to win that game going into the season. I don't know how I'm going to approach that prediction this time, now that the week is coming up. I want to see Bama tonight against Mississippi State, but should be a good showdown for sure. And hey, I didn't cough this whole time. I thought I'd be a coughing and sniffling mess, but looks like I made it through. So thanks for staying with me, and see you guys next week.